opposition MP in the eye of a storm, Mahua Moitra, who delivered a very fierce speech in that vote of no confidence. Let's go straight to her for that opposition walkout that took place. Mahua Moitra, there will be those who will say this is an opposition that called for a no-confidence motion on Manipur against the Prime Minister and then walks out halfway through the Prime Minister's speech without listening to him. What's the message, Mahua Moitra, that the opposition has sent out? Is it that you're not willing to listen to Prime Minister Modi?
Rajdeep, it was very clear that the opposition, India, had called for a no-confidence motion. Normally, we're not supposed to call for a no-confidence motion. We didn't have the numbers. The reason we called for it was the Prime Minister steadfastly refused to come to Parliament, of which he's an elected member, and have a discussion on Manipur. We were forced to have a no-confidence motion just in order to get him to the House. He didn't come for the last 3 days when all of us spoke. He didn't listen. He just came in today like the gladiator that he is, and he thought he would just come here and thump his chest and talk about everything but Manipur. We walked out after 1 hour, 40 minutes, during which he had not uttered a word on Manipur. His entire tirade, his entire sermon was telling Parliament about how useless the Congress party was. Well, he's in power, right? He's in power. The BJP is in power. There's no reason telling us how useless the Congress party is. Speak a word on Manipur. We were absolutely disgusted and appalled, but not surprised, because that's always been a strategy, which is why we worked out.
But the sense one will get, Mahua Moitra, therefore, is that the opposition which set up this no-confidence motion to get the Prime Minister to break his silence on Manipur in Parliament ended up only giving the Prime Minister a clear platform to attack your India alliance ahead of 2024 elections.
But you see, this strategy has been absolutely beaten to the ground. Each time he comes in, did you hear his speech? Was that a speech that the Prime Minister of the greatest democracy in the world gives? Did you see his choice of language? It was one of the most substandard speeches I've even heard Mr. Modi give. It was completely substandard. It's those cheap jibes, those cheap below-the-belt sort of comments that he specializes in making nowadays. So that's what he did the entire time. If he thinks that's getting him brownie points when this country is burning, and when everybody's waiting to hear him on Manipur, where he's not visited, where he's not said a word. If the BJP is so stupid as to think that's going to give him and the party electoral gains, then I think there's nobody stupider than them.
You know, the BJP though says the Prime Minister has contrasted his strong government that is growth-oriented, taking India into the future, versus a negative, disunited, anti-India opposition. He's completely entitled to use the no-confidence motion to contrast his government with a possible opposition government.
Sorry, we are not in the dock. This was a no-confidence movement against the government on Manipur. We want to know what the Prime Minister is doing on Manipur. We want to know what the Prime Minister has to say on Manipur. He's not there to come and tell us about how terrible and how useless we are. We are that useless. We accept it. We've been voted out of power. We accept it. India is not in power. Modi ji is in power. That's great. You're wonderful. Thump your chest some more, but tell us what you're doing on Manipur. This country is burning. Did you hear Mr. Rathore? Did you hear one of the BJP MPs? He says, "Arey Manipur ko chhodiye, Rajasthan pe aiye. Manipur ko chhodiye, Rajasthan pe aiye." This is it. Their absolute disdain for the Northeast, their absolute disdain for a non-Hindi belt. The Congress, one of the speakers actually pointed out today, saying that they don't even believe it's a part of India. I have said exactly the same thing. We've had enough of your whataboutery. We wanted to hear on Manipur. For an hour and 40 minutes, you are sitting there talking of everything else. And frankly, again, Rajdeep, it was such a substandard speech. It just didn't behove his office.
Mahua Moitra, you can call it a substandard speech. The Prime Minister's supporters will turn around and say this speech has set the tone for them for the 2024 elections. Prime Minister Modi versus who? BJP versus who? Strong government versus, according to the BJP, a disunited opposition, and an inevitability, according to the Prime Minister, that 2024, the BJP is going to return.
Rajdeep, if you listen to my speech today, I said that the question that the BJP is always throwing at us is, if not Modi, then who? Anyone with a modicum of decency, anyone with a modicum of shame will be better. I think what Manipur has shown, and I said that after this cornerstone, after Manipur, all of India is saying anyone but Modi. If not Modi, then who is a question that's over, that's out. Now it's anyone but Modi. Anyone with a modicum of decency, of shame will be better than Modi.
But
that's what Manipur has shown.
No, you're saying that, but therefore the no confidence motion, where does it leave 2024? Would you agree the BJP putting all its heavyweight ministers through the last 3 days was able to carry the day? Or do you believe that the opposition, which some are saying was ill prepared, or so the Prime Minister said, for a motion like this, lost out? Who won, who lost?
The Prime Minister, but of course he did. Did you listen to what they thought they were being very smart, typical sort of Shakuni kind of buddhi, is that if they were bringing out somebody per state. So you had somebody from Rajasthan speak about Rajasthan, somebody from Bengal speak about Bengal, somebody from Telangana. So they were trying to pit state against state against state against state as the opposition. This is the typical divide and rule politics. And each of their ministers, it's almost like they were competing with each other on the length of their speech. None of them had any substance. Nirmala Sitharaman spoke for over an hour. Kiran Rijiju speaks for over an hour. Amit Shah speaks for an hour and a half. 2 hours almost. What's the time to listen to this? And they're speaking on anything but Manipur. Which minister spoke on Manipur? It was a no confidence motion on Manipur. We never said that we are going to bring down the government. We never said we had the numbers. We knew we didn't. But it is so sad that we had to bring a no confidence motion in order to have a substantive discussion on Manipur. The country needed to listen to what the opposition's questions were. We didn't expect the Prime Minister to come with any answers because he thinks this is some master strategy. But he's going to come and thump his chest as always and have nothing substantive to say. And I think this really showed up the BJP. It showed up the Prime Minister. And I think the people of Manipur and the people of Northeast will see what a shameful error that the BJP is making in Manipur. They do not consider the Northeast as an integral part of India. Nothing could have demonstrated this more than this no confidence.
Listening to you both here and during your speech, I get a sense that the anger on all sides has now become so deep that there is a deep polarization in this country between the opposition and the BJP, and it's going to bleed out into 2024. Are you saying today to me, bring it on? Is the opposition saying we are ready to take on Mr. Modi and the BJP in 2024?
Yes, of course we are saying 2024, bring it on. We've got 4 elections coming up, but it's not even a 2024 thing, Rajdeep. I mean, you have, like I pointed out in my speech, that Manipur is not like the rest of the other states. Manipur, this is a hate crime. These are war crimes. These are crimes against humanity. This country is being torn apart. And we have to take stock now. This government has to take stock. This is a cry for help from people from Manipur that we are trying to voice. I don't think they're covering themselves in glory. This government is not covering themselves in glory by making this an election campaign. It's not. It's about governance now. It's not about winning an election in 24.
But Mahua, Moitra, the government will again turn around and say, you blame us for Manipur. Look at your own track record. Congress in particular, they say the opposition is talking about crimes against women. Why don't you talk about crimes against women in opposition-ruled states, including Bengal? The basic argument they make is the opposition doesn't have any moral high ground to talk on crimes in Manipur.
You know something, that's just it. They are, yes, the opposition was terrible, which is why the opposition is not in power. They are in power. They are in the dock and we need to ask questions. And Manipur is not like any other state. This is a widespread and systematic hate crime against a section of the community. This is civil war. This is ethnic violence of a kind that India has not seen in decades. Do not couch this in whataboutery. I appeal to you, Rajdeep, and I appeal to the media. Do not equate this with random incidents of crimes against women, as terrible as they might be in other states. This is widespread hate crimes against a community, a well thought out ethnic cleansing, so to speak, where valley can't come to hill and hill can't come to valley. And this is absolutely shameful.
Very quickly, if tomorrow morning Prime Minister Modi picked up the phone and spoke to you, unlikely, very highly unlikely, what is your message to the Prime Minister if he rang you up?
I would tell him, Mr. Modi, get your conscience back where it is in that 56-inch chest. Get your conscience back where it is. Get on the first flight. Go to Manipur. Start the peace and reconciliation mission. These are our people. Do not make them feel like this.
Okay, great. Mahua, Moitra, appreciate your joining us. Fiery and feisty as ever. We leave it there. The opposition angry with what has happened. They claim the Prime Minister didn't spend enough time on Manipur.